Hi, I'm Melissa, and before we dive into this wild story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming. Let me tell you a bit about myself first. I'm a 38-year-old single mom, working as a paralegal to give my daughter, Allison, the best life possible. It's been just the two of us ever since my ex, Jack, bailed on fatherhood when Allison was 5. Now, she's 17 and the absolute light of my life. She's smart, kind, and as beautiful inside as she is out. When Allison told me she'd been asked to prom, I was beyond excited. "Mom, Tyler asked me to prom," she squealed after school one day. I hugged her tight and said, "That's fantastic, sweetheart, we've got to find you the perfect dress." Little did I know, that dress would bring more drama than I could have ever imagined. Here's the catch: my ex-mother-in-law, Barbara, and my ex-sister-in-law, Karen, are still in our lives. Why? Well, it's complicated, but let's just say they're about as fun as a root canal without anesthesia. At our monthly family dinner, when Allison mentioned prom, their reactions were priceless. Barbara pursed her lips and said, "Prom? Isn't that a little frivolous?" Karen jumped in with, "Yeah, shouldn't you be more focused on college applications?" I bit my tongue, but Allison, bless her, held her ground. "I can do both, Aunt Karen. I'm really excited about prom." The tension in the room could have been cut with a knife, thicker than Barbara's infamous meatloaf. Fast forward to dress shopping, and Allison found this stunning blue gown that made her eyes light up. "Mom, it's perfect," she gushed. I checked the price tag and, well, let's just say it wasn't cheap, but seeing her so happy, I knew it was worth it. "You're going to be the belle of the ball," I smiled, swiping my card. When we showed Barbara and Karen the dress, their reactions were not ideal. Barbara wrinkled her nose. "Don't you think it's a little revealing?" Karen added, "And that color, it's not really your best, Allison." I saw Allison's excitement fade, and it took everything in me to keep my cool. "I think she looks stunning," I said, my voice firm. In the weeks leading up to prom, Allison was caught up in all the excitement, talking about corsages, limos, and after parties with her friends, but whenever Barbara or Karen were around, they couldn't help but throw in their 2 cents. "Are you really going to wear heels? You'll be taller than poor Tyler," Karen would say. Or Barbara would add, "I hope you're not planning on staying out all night." I tried my best to shield Allison from their constant negativity, but I could see it was starting to wear on her. The night before prom, Allison was buzzing with a mix of nerves and excitement. We were deep into last-minute preparations, nails, hair, you name it. "Mom, what if something goes wrong?" Allison asked, her voice trembling slightly. I squeezed her hand and smiled. "Nothing's going to go wrong. Tomorrow is going to be perfect, I promise." As I carefully hung up her beautiful blue dress, ensuring every inch was wrinkle-free, I had no idea just how wrong I was. Sometimes, the people you trust are the ones you need to be most wary of. I realized I needed to run to the store for some last-minute essentials: hairspray, bobby pins, the usual prom night supplies. Barbara and Karen, in an unusual display of kindness, offered to come over and help Allison with a few final touches. "That's really thoughtful of you," I said, surprised by their sudden enthusiasm. As they headed upstairs with Allison, I ignored the nagging feeling in my gut that something was off. Maybe they were finally warming up, I thought, but that decision to leave would lead to a night I'd never forget, and not in the way I had hoped. I rushed back from the store, eager to surprise Allison with her favorite snacks for our little pre-prom celebration. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Barbara and Karen's cars were still parked out front. Strange, they were supposed to be gone by now. When I stepped inside, I heard hushed voices upstairs, and the unmistakable snip of scissors. A sudden chill ran down my spine. My heart pounded as I tiptoed up the stairs, each step filled with dread. When I reached Allison's room and pushed the door open, nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. There, in the center of the room, were Barbara and Karen, scissors in hand, surrounded by shredded pieces of blue fabric. Allison's gorgeous prom dress lay in tatters across the bed. "What the hell are you doing?" I yelled, my shopping bags hitting the floor with a thud. Barbara and Karen spun around, their faces drained of color. "Melissa, we were just," Karen stuttered, unable to finish. "Just what? Destroying my daughter's dress? Have you completely lost it?" My hands shook with fury. Barbara stepped forward, her chin held high, as if she had any right to justify this. "We're doing what's best for Allison. That dress was inappropriate," she said without a hint of remorse. "Inappropriate? It's a prom dress, not something from a nightclub." I could barely contain my disbelief. Karen chimed in, trying to sound reasonable. "We were only trying to protect her reputation. You just wouldn't understand." Suddenly, it all clicked. The judgmental comments about my parenting, the accidental spills on Allison's favorite clothes, the times they'd conveniently left her waiting at school, This wasn't about protecting her. It was about control. The pieces fell into place, and I realized they had been undermining us all along. You've always been jealous, I realized aloud. The pieces finally falling into place. You can't stand to see Allison happy. Barbara scoffed. Dismissive. Don't be ridiculous. We love Allison. Love? This isn't love. This is control. Manipulation. I shot back, my voice trembling with anger. At that moment, a soft gasp came from the doorway. Allison stood there, her face pale, eyes wide in disbelief as she took in the destruction of her dress. My dress, she whispered, tears already welling up in her eyes. I rushed to her side, wrapping her in a tight hug. Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry, I whispered, my heart breaking as she started to sob. Why? Allison cried, her voice cracking. Why would they do this? Grandma? Aunt Karen? How could you? Barbara had the nerve to look indignant. We were trying to help. Dear, that dress was far too revealing for a young girl. Get out, I growled, my voice low, simmering with fury. Get out of my house. Now. Karen tried to interject, but we were just out, I roared, pointing sharply toward the door. They exchanged a glance but didn't argue. As they hurried out, I turned my full attention back to Allison, still trembling in my arms. What am I going to do, Mom? She asked through tears. Prom's tomorrow, and my dress is ruined. I held her tighter, my mind racing for a solution. How could I fix this? The dress shops were all closed for the night. We'll figure it out, sweetie, I reassured her, though I had no idea how. But I wasn't about to let her dream night be ruined. Not by them, not by anyone. I promise, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt, as I held my heartbroken daughter. Only one thing was clear. Barbara and Karen had crossed a line they couldn't come back from. This wasn't just about a ruined dress anymore, it was about years of manipulation. But first, I had to solve the most pressing issue, producing a prom dress in less than 24 hours. Talk about a mother's worst nightmare. Once Allison finally fell asleep, exhausted from crying, I sat at the kitchen table, my mind racing. This wasn't just an isolated incident, it was the culmination of years of subtle cruelty. I grabbed my phone and called Jack, my ex. We need to talk. It's about Allison. 30 minutes later, Jack was standing at my door, concern etched across his face. What's going on, Melissa? I didn't hold back. I told him everything that had happened, and as I spoke, I watched his expression darken. I can't believe my own mother and sister would do something like this, he said, shaking his head in disbelief. Believe it, I said grimly, and it's not just this. Remember when Allison didn't get invited to Karen's kids' birthday parties? Or the time Barbara accidentally spilled wine on her graduation dress? Jack's eyes widened. You think all that was intentional? I know it was, and we're going to prove it. For the next few hours, we called friends and family, connecting the dots on Barbara and Karen's years of toxic behavior. The stories came pouring in. My friend Lisa reminded me, remember when Barbara told everyone Allison cheated on that math test? I knew something was off. Jack's cousin Tom added, Karen once told me Allison was spreading rumors about my daughter. I always had my doubts, but I didn't want to cause drama. By the time the sun came up, we had a long list of incidents spanning years. It was time to take action. I called up my old college roommate, Sarah, a high-powered lawyer. Sarah, I need your help. We met at a cafe, where I laid out everything we had gathered. After listening intently, Sarah let out a low whistle. This is some heavy stuff, Melissa. We're looking at harassment, defamation, and now with the dress, destruction of property. What can we do? I asked, desperate for a solution. Legally, we could pursue charges, Sarah said thoughtfully, but given its family, there might be a more impactful way to handle this. That's when an idea struck me. The annual family reunion was just 2 weeks away, and everyone would be there. Sarah, what if we expose them in front of the entire family? A slow, approving smile spread across Sarah's face. Now that's a plan I can get behind. Let's make it happen. Over the next few days, while juggling prom preparations for Allison, thank goodness for 24-hour tailors and my emergency credit card, we set our plan in motion. We gathered all our evidence, photos, text message screenshots, and even security camera footage showing Barbara and Karen with the ruined dress. Jack reached out to extended family members, subtly ensuring their attendance at the reunion. Lisa helped us assemble a compelling slideshow, and Tom volunteered to handle the tech side of things. We need to make sure they can't wriggle out of this, I emphasized during one of our strategy sessions. Sarah agreed. I've drafted a statement outlining their actions. We'll hand it out to everyone after the presentation. As the day of the reunion approached, a mix of nervousness and resolve settled over me. Barbara and Karen had no clue what was coming. The night before the reunion, Allison voiced her concerns. Mom, are you sure about this? It feels pretty intense. I wrapped her in a reassuring hug. Sweetie, sometimes you have to stand up to bullies, even when they're family, especially when they're family. Jack added his support. Your mom's right, Allison. What they did to you was wrong, and it's time everyone knew the truth. Allison nodded, her trust in us clear. Okay, I trust you guys. As I laid out my outfit for the reunion, I took a deep breath. Tomorrow, everything would change. Barbara and Karen thought they could manipulate and hurt us without facing the consequences. They were about to find out how wrong they were. Ready for tomorrow? Jack asked as he headed out. I nodded, determination shining in my eyes. More than ready. It's time to put an end to this. Let the show begin. The day of the family reunion arrived, and my nerves were on edge. Allison, Jack, and I got there early to set up our presentation with Tom's help. As family members started to arrive, I watched Barbara and Karen greet everyone with fake smiles and cheerful hugs, oblivious to what was about to unfold. The sight made my blood boil and solidified my resolve. Once everyone had gathered, I stood up and cleared my throat. Excuse me, everyone, I need your attention for a moment. There's something crucial we need to address. Barbara looked puzzled. Melissa, dear, what's this about? I took a deep breath, steeling myself. It's about the years of manipulation, deceit, and cruelty that you and Karen have inflicted on Allison and our family. The room fell silent. Tom dimmed the lights, and our slideshow began. Last week, Barbara and Karen destroyed Allison's prom dress, I said, pointing to the security footage as it played. Gasps of shock filled the room. We went through incident after incident, the snubs at birthday parties, the ruined clothes, the hurtful rumors. With each revelation, the expressions of shock and disgust on everyone's faces grew more intense. Karen jumped up, her face flushed with anger. This is absurd. We've never done anything to hurt Allison. Her protest was drowned out by family members speaking up. Cousin Rachel said, so that's why you told me Allison couldn't make it to my wedding, you claimed she was sick. Uncle Steve added, and the time you said Allison was spreading rumors about my son? That was a lie too. Barbara and Karen's faces turned ashen, and they desperately searched the room for allies, but found none. Sarah stepped forward, her lawyer persona in full effect. What you've done amounts to harassment and defamation, not to mention destruction of property. We have a strong case for legal action. Barbara sneered, you wouldn't dare, we're family. I locked eyes with her, unwavering. Family doesn't treat people the way you have. You've left us no choice. The impact was immediate. Other family members began sharing their own experiences of Barbara and Karen's manipulative behavior. It was as if a dam had burst. Ultimately, pressing charges became unnecessary. The family decided on their own to cut Barbara and Karen out. No more invitations. No more contact. Allison's prom night was a triumph. In her new dress, which was even more stunning than the original, she radiated happiness. Mom, she said as she was leaving, thank you for everything. I hugged her tightly, my eyes welling up. Always, sweetie, I'll always be here for you. Later that night, as I reflected on everything that had transpired, I realized an important truth. Confronting toxic behavior, even within the family, isn't easy, but it's essential for our well-being and for those we love. And that's the end of Melissa and Allison's story. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Was Melissa justified in exposing Barbara and Karen's behavior to the whole family, or should she have handled it more privately? Is public confrontation ever the right choice when dealing with toxic family members? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might help others facing similar situations. If you found this story compelling and want to see more like it, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more real-life dramas to light. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.